It is January 7th, 2018 at about 7:46 p.m. local time at the launch site, or almost 1 a.m. Universal Coordinated Time on January 8th. You are looking at a live view of the Falcon 9 rocket as it awaits liftoff from the space launch pad approximately 14 minutes from now. Welcome to today's live webcast of the Zuma mission from Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. My name is Brian Malstead, and I'm a software engineer here at the headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Now, today's primary mission is Zuma, a payload built by Northrop Grumman, and per our customer's request, we will conclude coverage of the primary mission just following separation of the payload fairing. However, we will also show secondary mission coverage as we attempt to land and recover under their first stage back at Landing Zone 1. Now, today's launch will mark SpaceX's first of the 2018 calendar year. We wrapped up 2017 with 18 total launches. This is the most that SpaceX has ever done in a single calendar year. Now, Zuma was originally slated to launch from 39A a few miles north, but that pad is currently undergoing preparation for the launch of Falcon Heavy, so we moved Zuma a few miles south to Slick 40, Space Launch Complex 40. Having these two operational launch sites on the East Coast with enough commonality for swaps like this is very beneficial. Now, it is important to remember that Slick 40 was designed long before the days that Falcon ever first flew. So over the past year, we have not only rebuilt Slick 40, but we have customized it for SpaceX purposes. This includes upgrading it to reinforce its structures, improve ground-side systems, and just in general, make it so that it can replicate the operations that are occurring up north at 39A. Now, together with 39A and 40 and Vandenberg on the West Coast, SpaceX now has 3 operational launch sites across the country. Now, having more launch sites means more opportunity for launching, which in general is beneficial because it increases our chances of higher launch cadence. Now, Zuma, the payload, was mated to Falcon 9, the launch vehicle, some time ago, and all of those pre-launch integrations occurred in the hangar, which is just adjacent to the pad that you see on screen. All of this integration happens while the vehicle is horizontal, and while it's mated to that transporter or erector, or as you might hear us call it, the strongback. And that is done horizontally so that we have ease of access, so that we can work on the vehicle without having to go up very high. Now, once it's ready to roll out, as we call it, the transporter erector lives up to its name and transports the vehicle out to the pad and erects it into the final configuration for launch that you see on your screen right then. Now, once we're vertical, we're over 20 stories tall. Now, the first stage takes up about the first 2/3 closest to the ground, and then the second stage is that top bit with the fairings that encapsulate Zuma. Now, we stage the rocket for the same reason that we want a better gas mileage vehicle. If you're carrying around less mass, your fuel is going to get you farther. And so because the vehicle, the rocket, is mostly structure, and within that structure is mostly propellant, once you use all that propellant, you don't need to carry around that empty structure anymore. That's exactly what happens. Once Falcon 9's first stage is nearly depleted, it heads back to the launch site after separation, and second stage then has less mass to carry on as it goes to deliver the payload to its final desired orbit. One of the most important procedures that we are conducting during this pre-launch phase is the loading of propellants. And we say propellants, we actually mean fuel and oxidizer, two critical components that are required for combustion. Now fuel, as you've heard us say before, for the vehicle is RP1 or rocket propellant 1. That's basically just rocket grade kerosene. The oxidizer is oxygen itself, and oxygen is typically at a gas phase when it's under standard atmospheric temperature and pressure. Now we supercool it to the liquid phase so that we have higher density. Higher density means more mass in the same volume, which for us means more oxidizer within the same rocket. So we're loading propellants. We load those fuel first and then oxidizer, first stage first and then second stage second. So that is currently underway. We started about 50 minutes ago and it's still going on and won't conclude for another few minutes here, but that is going well. Two other things we like to check before launch are the range and weather. Now, the range is responsible for all sorts of ground infrastructure, from tracking systems to clearing airspace, naval space, and ground space. They have given us the thumbs up, and the range is green for this Zuma launch. Weather is not under our control, but all of the inclement conditions that Florida sometimes provides are not present right now. We don't have any upper altitude winds, no rain, and no lightning threats. So Florida's weather is green, so vehicle, range, and weather are all good to go for launch today. Now today is a 2-hour launch window, so should anything arise, we will resort to our backup launch window, which is tomorrow at approximately the same time. Northrop Grumman, the manufacturer of today's payload, is one of the nation's leading aerospace and defense companies. They've made stuff in market sectors from airplanes to software to satellites to electronics and even some other technical services. Now, some of their best known products you may have heard of include B2, the Global Hawk, and the very recent and very famous James Webb Space Telescope. Northrop Grumman is over 66,000 employees strong, and they work across the nation with a bunch of mission partners to fly stuff just like today's mission, Zuma. Now, they've been in the industry for over 50 years, so they have tons of experience, and their space missions include Earth observation, missile warning systems, defense, even protected global communications and other space science and exploration endeavors. Some of their recent, particularly space missions include Aqua, Aura, a space-based infrared system, other tracking and surveillance systems, Milstar you may have heard of, advanced extra-high frequency communication systems, and the Chandra X-ray Observatory, among many others.